little people matter, the people that are running in your county and all this that matters.
Welcome to Gun Owners of America State of the Second podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm John, and today we're joined by Kaydi Stone herself, the amazing 2A advocate. Kaydi, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. So go ahead and let the folks know who you are, what you do, all that other fun jazz.
Okay. Well, I'm Kaydi Stone. I run Stone Second Sense. It is basically 2A politics for the most part. I mix it up every once in a while with a little unhinged 2A things that people do. Just point out that this is probably not the best idea. Just poke a little fun and learning all in one. Mainly stick to shorts just because they're more better. I'm kidding. No, they're just I find them more fun. I feel like politics can be one of those things that's gets kind of boring after a while. So if we make it a little shorter and a little spicier and get to the point, then I find it catches people's attention a little better.
Had to pull out the more better. Okay. So we're going to go into our first segment, which is rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You can answer them as quickly or as long as you'd like. John Patton answered them very quickly, but we don't have a timer yet, so I can't.
He really wanted it to be a time segment.
I really wanted it to be a time segment, but we're going to start with question number 1. What is on your bucket list for guns?
My bucket list? I just want to own a tank. I don't really have... I worked at Classic Firearms, dude. I've shot everything and its brother, but I just want to own a tank. I just want a tank.
I can't argue with that. I want to own a tank.
It's a really... honestly, probably your answer is going to go down as one of the better ones.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Everyone's like, I want this gun or that gun. No, I just want to own a tank.
Okay, what do you watch more, TikTok or YouTube?
Oh, YouTube. I don't even have the TikTok app.
Me neither. Is it bad that I don't have the TikTok app? People send me TikToks and I go to watch them and it says, no, you need the app. I'm like, I'm good.
No.
I'll figure this out later.
No, I don't need.
When it comes on Instagram in 6 weeks, I'll figure it out.
Oh, I saw it now.
What is your go-to binge watch show?
Binge watch show. Supernatural. Yes.
It's a good one. All right. Top 3 guns for the zombie apocalypse.
Ooh, that's tough.
I know.
That's tough. That is really tough. See, the reason it's so tough is because when you're thinking about it, okay, how many magazines are going to be around for what? So, as of right now, probably if a handgun wise, I'm probably going to go Canic Rival SFX because all of the Canics, a lot of them have the same like interchangeable mags. So if somebody has a Canic, then you have those because I hate Glock. So yes, Glock would be the go-to if you're going to be like, oh, universal mags, but I hate Glock with a passion. And then honestly, just a basic AR-15. I don't care what brand. I'm really not picky. I should be, but at this point, I'm not. I used to be super picky, but I've shot so many, like when I worked at Classic, that I'm just like, it's really not going to matter. It is. I mean, I would probably go more high end because, you're going to get a lot of gunk in it. So maybe a Daniel Defense, but I don't really want to give them the credit. So maybe like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll go to Daniel Defense.
Okay. What's the number 3?
We gotta have a shotgun.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But the real question is, do you want like a tiny shotgun, like a sawed-off? Not literally a sawed-off because that's illegal.
It's the zombie apocalypse. I don't know that.
Listen, there's always somebody out there trying to tell you you're doing something wrong. We're the zombie police, okay? There's always somebody.
Zombie ATF will come and get you.
Right? There's probably going to be just like a group of them just walking around. They'll be about as useful as they are now. But and coming after your dog for no reason. I mean, but yeah, I don't really care. Like, I don't care. Like, brands don't bother me.
So is it gonna be like?
But I do have like, I'm gonna go. I have a Panzer AR-12 shotgun. That's what I'm probably gonna go with because at that point at least it's mag fed, so I don't have to worry about only having like 3 rounds in it or
Okay.
5. So yeah. Okay.
Last question.
Okay.
Go-to pizza order.
Ham and pineapple.
Oh, so all the earlier podcasts, I was asking pineapple on pizza.
Mhm.
She's like, enough with the pineapple on pizza. And so, hey,
If it's just me, ham and pineapple. But if it's my husband, we'll eat like ham and pepperoni because he's a meat guy and he does not eat pineapple in any form. So
I am the like barbecue chicken with pineapple is so good. It's that salty, sweet.
I feel like there's certain things that don't belong on pizza, and barbecue chicken belongs on a bun.
I could not
Ooh.
agree with you more. I think that is
No.
far more controversial than the pineapple on
I
pizza.
completely
No.
agree.
I-
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Barbecue sauce on a pizza. Oh,
No,
No.
I really no. Go to Italy and see what they think about
Oh,
that.
I already
They're
know.
like-
I told my Italian grandmother that. She looked at me like I had 3 heads. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah.
No, listen. I'm a firm believer that pizza should be like simple and more on the traditional side. I guess like
What is traditional side? Are you talking
Pepperoni and cheese.
Are you talking but what style? Are we talking like Chicago style is traditional? Are we talking like New York thin, Detroit style?
so okay. Where everybody gets to make fun of me. All right. So we don't order pizza very often at my house. I make pizza at our house. Like we do homemade pizza at night.
We get it. You're better than us.
It's not of better. It is better, but
I'm not better than you. I just am better than you.
well, it tastes better. And I don't know. I like the way that my kitchen smells when the pizza comes out of the oven and you've got that fresh baked dough. And I am allowed to have luxuries in my life. But if I am ordering pizza from a like establishment, then I'm going with like Jet's Pizza, which is the
Ooh.
Detroit style, and I'm getting the 8 corners with the extra pepperoni. Because I think they make the best commercial pizza. You can fight me in the comments, like I'm okay.
No, Jets is
Like,
the best pizza.
But Jets for me is the best pizza that you can get if you're not making it at home because I don't know, don't like I understand
You know-
the luxury of ordering pizza. I'm totally there for it, but I also live out in the country and nobody's delivering,
Yeah.
so I gotta drive 30 minutes to go get it, and
Yeah.
then you pretty much have to eat it in the car because
Oh yeah, because when
it's
it
gonna cook cold by the time you get home, and
and all spongy.
so
and
I make
gross.
pizza
Yeah.
at home because it's more convenient.
It's more better. You're probably also the same person who like hates cinnamon and chili.
Get that out of here! What are you even talking
Cincinnati
about?
chili. Oh,
Ugh,
it's a
no,
delicacy.
No.
no, because and also
Where's my friends from Anderson? Kyle, if you're watching this, comment Skyline chili, best chili.
it is not the best chili.
Oh,
But
cinnamon.
I'm gonna be honest, and like I'm gonna offend way more than half of my family that lives in Texas. I also believe beans should be in chili, and like that is blasphemous for well over half of my family. And
No beans.
I think it depends. So like there's a difference between like in my like we call it there's chili beans and then there's like hamburger chili. So there's a difference. But if I'm gonna make like a pot of chili, just eat that, it's gonna have like 3 different types of beans in it.
I'm with her.
No beans, cornbread, cinnamon.
Yes to cornbread. Get the cinnamon out of here. This isn't a Cinnabon.
Oh, come on. now.
Listen, he's a ginger. He's just trying to keep it alive.
But if you can't tell, it's late in the day. We're a little hungry, so we're going to focus on guns and food on the next topic on the.
You're on a table with 2 pregnant women. What do you expect?
Right? Listen, you're not wrong.
He's like, we're gonna talk about food. Okay.
I'm the odd
We've
man.
got
All
opinions.
4 of us will answer that.
Amen to that.
You're also talking to the same guy who, like, over the weekend, hand chopped mesquite to smoke ribs.
I'm here for it. Like, listen,
Instead of buying pellets.
like it is.
I'm not mad about it.
Food is amazing, and
May have almost
You can tell by looking at me. I don't pass up a meal.
I don't think that we had a comment that somebody said neither do we.
it's factual.
Listen, food's great. My love language.
Honestly, if it's not your love language, just as a general rule of thumb, I have questions for you because, like,
Who hurt you?
I
Yeah.
love to eat,
Or maybe who didn't hurt you.
like I don't get that when people are like, "Oh, food is my love language." I hope so.
Yeah.
Like, do you,
Like
what-
people that are just eating to survive, why?
Right?
Like,
so
I
many
survived to
questions.
eat.
I told her last night I got so hungry. I had a caramel apple, a Snickers bar, and then got some puppy chow. We went to the worst steak restaurant I've ever been to.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
It was so bad.
Yeah.
On
It was
that-
late when we got done filming the podcast, and so we were like, "Oh, well, we'll just go here." Like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
It was not fine.
It had 4.5 stars. What
But
for?
from who?
14,000 people. Who are you?
I'll have to ask you the name later.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to get you outed on here, but
so this is a 2A podcast.
Yeah.
While we're talking about
Believe
food.
it or not.
Believe it or not. All right. So how did you get your start in this industry?
by
Let's-
accident.
Yeah.
So I had a sister that had just finished her accounting degree, and she was looking on Indeed and found that Classic Firearms was looking for a bookkeeper. They were looking for a new bookkeeper. So she went and she worked there for like 2 years. And at the time, I was working in a daycare, believe it or not. I worked in the infant room at a daycare. It was 5-star daycare, high class, but it was a daycare. And I don't know how much you guys know about people who work in daycares, but back when I was there, like 7, 8, almost 9 years ago, I was making like $800 a month. Like it was rough. And so I had recently moved in with my sister and I was paying her rent and she knew I was struggling. And she was like, well, I kind of need you to pay rent so that I can pay my bills, but we need to find you a better job. And that same week, Classic Firearms was looking for customer service employees. And she was like, hey, just come work at Classic and work in the customer service. And I was like, dude, I don't like people, so I can't work in customer service. And I was like, and I know nothing about guns. Like at this point, I had shot a gun like one time with like a boyfriend's drunken dad one time. And it was like a very bad experience. And I had never shot a gun since then. And so I was like, dude, no, I'm not going to go do that. And 2 weeks later, and I was still poor and they were still begging for people to come work there. And I was like, give it a try. Went in, they offered me to like $3 more an hour than I was making. And I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And then Ben, some people call him Sweaty Ben, but Ben, Classic Firearms, one of the best humans on God's planet. I don't know if you guys have ever met him, but he is an amazing human being. This is back at the very beginning, like 2017, 2018, when Ben was still doing all the videos. And back when Ben did the videos, they did, we're doing a video because we have this many guns that we need to give away and it's going to be the deal of the week. And that's how they did their videos. And they had some tiny little Kel-Tec pistol come in. It was tiny. Ben couldn't get his hands around it. It was too small. He couldn't get his hand in it. And he was just like, I know this is a good gun. Like, I'm going to buy one for my daughter. And he was like, will you come do a video with me on it? And I was like, I know nothing about guns. Like, at the point, I had maybe been working there a year, maybe, but I was learning the basics, like the very basics. And I was like, I'm nervous. Like, I don't like being in front of people. I hate being the center of attention. I know most of you guys have met me. I don't act like that in real life, but I do. I hate being the center of attention. And he was like, well, just come to this video with me. I was like, no. And like 3 weeks later, he's like, I really need to sell these guns. You need to come to this video with me. So I did it. And then like the reviews were great and people loved it. And the pistols sold like crazy. And he was like, well, you're going to do more of these with me. I was like, no, it really made me uncomfortable. Like, I did not like doing it. I saw the comments, like, people were, like, being inappropriate. Like, you know how men are. And 2 weeks later, he was like, hey, I have have these slings that are not sailing at all. He's like, they're not doing well. And he's like, but they're really good slings. He's like, will you come do another video with me? And I was like, for slings? Like, what am I supposed to do in a sling video? And he's like, just come hold the sling. I did it, sold out of them in like a couple days. And he was like, oh, so you're going to do this with me more often? I was like, no, I'm probably not. Fast forward a couple months, I had a bad experience with some person they put in charge of customer service, and I quit. She was rough. And then went and worked on their job for 3 months. The end of the summer, Ben called me and said, hey, I want you to come back and be my personal assistant. And I said, I love you, Ben, more than life itself, but no. I was like, I can't do it. And he's like, I'll call you back in a couple weeks. And he did. Call me back in a couple weeks. And he's like, hey, will you come be my personal assistant? He's like, please. He's like, I'll make sure your salary. I'll make sure you go home whenever you need to go home. He's like, we will work this out. Because Ben's a great guy. And I was like, but she still works there. And she literally hates me. Like, this girl, like, literally hates me. And he's like, don't worry about it. I'll make sure she never comes in contact with you. You don't have to worry about it. And I was like, okay, fine. I was like, you talked me into it. So I came back, worked for Ben. This girl gets fired 2 weeks later because she claims that I parked in her parking spot. She came in my office, ran and raving, then called the owner. He was at home sick with COVID. Like, it was a big, big ordeal. Ends up, she gets fired, right? And then Ben's like, all right, well, now that you have no one here that hates you, you're gonna start doing videos again. I was like, dang. I was like, I thought I was coming back just to be your assistant. And he was like, yeah, but you're also going to do videos now. And so around that time was when he was transitioning from trying to stop doing the videos, because Ben is the top buyer at Classic. He is the GM, and he's also was running all the videos by himself. So around that time is when he's like kind of handed the reins over to like Ryan and those guys, and just kind of was like, hey, I just need you guys to take this. Like, I have too much going on. Like, I can't do it. And he's like, oh, and by the way, Kaydi's gonna help. So he kind of like threw me in. He's like, so Kaydi can help you whenever you need her. And so it was one of those things, like, they just came and asked me whenever, but it was a lot on my plate. And then it came to the point like 2 years later, and I was like, I got to the point where I was like, I've kind of have hit my, like, I maxed out. And I was terrible to say, but I'm one of those people that have like very strong like goals. And when I realize I can't grow from there anymore, it's time for me to move on. So Ben was heartbroken when I left, but I had been on the video team and I had been his assistant, and I was like, it's time for me to do something else. And around that time is when I met Braden. Well, I had met Braden like 6 months before. And I started working, like, just talking to Braden about like politics and stuff, because he knew I hated politics. I know it sounds horrible, but I did. I hated politics. Like, you couldn't have begged me, like, a year before I started working with Braden, you couldn't have begged me to watch a debate or anything. Like, I voted, but only because my parents made me. Not like they made me, but it was just like, you're going to regret this one day. And looking back now, I definitely would have. But I was just like, okay, fine. And I started talking to Braden, and then about 6 months later, it came to the time where I was like, yeah, I'm not really happy here anymore. And it's not that I don't love Ben. Ben's great, but I've just maxed out, and it's time for me to find something else. And Braden was like, well, funny you mentioned that. I was thinking that I needed to create a shorts channel, and I don't want to do it. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, so I've been watching you a little while. And I was like, okay, creep. And he was like, no, like, professionally. And he was like, and I already had my wife vet you. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, she already stalked all your social medias. She said you're a respectful young lady, and it's okay if I work with you. And I was like, okay, awesome. I was like, when do I get to meet her? And so, like, I think I had met her on like a FaceTime or something. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I feel more comfortable about this. Cause like, I don't want to go work with some man. Like, even though I respect Braden, I was like, it's just a little strange just to go work with some man. Right. And so once all that was taken care of, I was like, okay, well, let's jump into this politics thing. Years later.
That's awesome. So, for those people who might not know Braden
Mhm.
and what you all do and kind of the whole umbrella, kind of go into a little bit about his channel, your channel, the collaborations that happen, the newsletter, those kind of details.
Okay, so Braden runs Langley Outdoors Academy, which is mostly 2A politics. Although with the election coming up, he's branched out a little bit into more like politics broad, which is great for him, not for me, because I don't love politics broad. So I've stuck to just my 2A stuff. But he's doing great. I mean, he always brings it back to the 2A, and like obviously this is the person who's going to allow you more rights than this other person. And then we give like you the information, you decide. Like no one's ever gonna tell you who to vote for. Like that's not how we are, but it's kind of like, hey, these are the facts, and you go from there. But so Braden has the biggest channel. Goodness gracious. Langley Outdoors Academy. And then he also has a second channel with Tim Harmson from Military Arms Channel. They have Second Legacy, I believe. And so theirs is more just them. It's like the same topics that Braden and I kind of both cover. We obviously all take different approaches, but him and Tim will talk about it and they'll like bounce off each other. And it's actually kind of funny because Tim is he's very kind of like dry funny, but it's really funny when him and Braden get going together. And then there's my channel, and I mainly do shorts. And I mainly do shorts just, because politics gets boring. Like, there's no way I would have sat down and watched a long form video when I didn't like politics. Now it's hard enough. But but before, like, you have to like really like someone. I feel like if you're not like huge into politics, you have to like really like someone's personality in order to sit down and watch 8 to 12 minutes of politics straight. Or you have to be really interested in the topic. So I try to do shorts, which are like, hey, this short, sweet, to the point, and this is what you need to know. This is how it affects you. Kind of like wrap it up and feed. If I need to, I'll feed in like extra videos to goes along with it. But we try and do that way. We also have like the biggest. So his the big umbrella that we're under is called Second Press, and we do like a newsletter, and we have all of the channels are all listed in there. So it's not, I can't exactly, I should know all this because I do all the admin for it. But I see the back end all the time, so I'm not really sure what the front end looks like. But I know that like everything's housed together. And then we also like Braden we also have like certain t-shirts and stuff like that. And then Braden also does like flavor of the month t-shirts. Like he'll design a t-shirt and be like, hey, we're gonna do this. Like 2 weeks ago it was like Kamikaze Kamala, and it was like the Pearl Harbor version of like it hitting. Yeah. It was very funny. But he originally spelled it like Kamalakazi, and people were like really like upset that he spelled Kamikaze wrong. And so we had to like go in and change it. But I mean, it's real fun. I work with Braden almost every day. He's great. I've worked with Tim. Tim's great, which I worked with Tim a lot at Classic. Because he's like old surplus guy, and Classic sold tons of surplus. So I've worked with Tim prior, and it's just they're really good guys, really fun to work with. But yeah, so there's that. I don't know if I missed anything, but I start talking sometimes and ramble in circles.
Well, that goes into our next segment, and that's from the soapbox. So, Kailey, are you going to step up on that soapbox and go ahead and go for it?
Well, I guess that's my official job title is to kind of go on the long tangents.
Oh, it's like that sometimes.
And so,
but I brought her a soapbox for Shasho, and she didn't use it.
When did we have time?
I'm surprised she didn't use it in conversations because Kaylee's a little shorter than I am. Listen, you're not listening to me. Just puts it in the middle. Now I'm getting something to say here.
Well, considering I'm 5 foot tall, the soapbox is what, like 6 inches of height?
She's like, now I'm the legal height of regular women.
It's not like it gives me an advantage. But this is the kind of point in the show where we kind of tackle some more of the controversial topics. And, there's a lot of people that believe that the long form content or written forms of communication are the only ways that you can really impact the next generation of gun owners. And you have taken that approach of quite the opposite and focused on shorts and being in kind of the Instagram, YouTube world that's super fast paced. Do you think that gives you like a competitive advantage to reaching younger audience members?
Well, I mean, let's just look at it. I personally don't have TikTok, but how popular is TikTok? And you see kids on kids. Like you hear old people too, like old people. God, I'm just referring to everyone as kids or old people. But you see like adults and like our younger generation that are all talking about like, oh, did you see this TikTok? Did you see that TikTok? So I feel like a lot of our generation, like our new generations and even some of the older ones, their attention span is dying. And I know that's terrible to say, but I feel like it's really true. So I feel like it's one of those things that at some point people are going to watch a short more likely than they are to sit down and watch a long form. I feel like you have to be like invested and to get like sit down and watch a long form. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to listen to this long form while I'm on my way to work or something, instead of just like, oh, I'm scrolling in bed at night and just, oh, look, there's a 60-second short that I'm going to watch. Oh man, that's really interesting. And then it may lead you, because a lot of times I'll reference like something Braden does. It may lead you to like really interested in it, and you'll go watch Braden and Tim talk about it more. Or you'll be like, oh, well, let's go watch and see if she has other videos related to this topic. So I feel like it helps that way. Yeah, there's younger generation, but also like, how many of you guys just sit in bed at night and scroll reels or YouTube shorts?
A dopamine hit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So I try to keep it like spicy. I mean, you guys know I'm a little spicy sometimes. So I'll be like, oh my goodness, look what, Shannon Watts said. And she always says the dumbest things. Like, you would think someone who has been the leader of, like, Moms Demand Action for, like, she's been the Moms Demand Action for, like, 2012, 2014, something like that. Like, you would think she would understand that, hey, this is not actually what constitutional carry means. Like, she just thinks that, like, some criminal thug can, like, walk in a store and just buy a gun because it's constitutional carry. And I'm just like, no, honey, that's not how that works.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'll just do something like quick and snippy, and then people like think it's funny. Some people do. I'm really not being. I'm kidding.
I mean, look, we just had the vice president go on stage, and I know this episode's going to air later, but go on stage and her teleprompter shuts off, and she's just like, "What? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
Well, we were joking about it last night. Like, a Trump speech is just the same 6 topics over and over again. Just how great things are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. So one person knows how to give a speech. The other person just is like, there's it.
Yeah.
I need
this. When she got announced for VP, I watched her for a week straight. She did not say one word different in any of them. She may say the word slightly different, but I watched her for a week straight. It was the exact same speech. Same order, everything for a week. I could tell you exactly, like, it'd be like the 23rd second or 3rd minute is when she would start on gun control. Like, it was like to the T. I'm not even kidding. Like, I mean, that's probably not, like, if you look back at it now, but that's how it's rough.
But she owns a gun, right?
No? It's a Glock. Yeah. Did you know that?
Did you see her on Oprah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's even crazier is, like, so did you guys see where, I'm sure you guys did, but the Office of Gun Violence Prevention was getting questioned by the Oversight Committee about their involvement with the Chicago lawsuit on Glock, suing Glock. So she's the leader of, like, in control of this White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, right? And then they're getting investigated for being part of a lawsuit against Glock. And then she comes out and says, yeah, I own a Glock. Like, honey, that was probably not the best thing to say. Like, I understand it's like one of the most popular handguns, but you got to use whatever. I don't know if the batteries or the little alien in there is not talking to her, but come on now. Like you ran yourself right into one, and then you were part of like how many of these laws to make sure that California isn't allowed to have the new Glocks? Like, come on now. You got to do better than that.
Got stuck somewhere up there in the gray matter.
Yeah.
So there's so much, whether it's pop culture or the political class that just really misses the mark when it comes to understanding gun owners, understanding gun ownership, understanding how the laws work. And you touch on a lot of that on your shorts. Is there ever a time where you're just, I guess, just completely caught off guard by the ridiculousness, or have you built up such a tolerance that you're like, no, nothing phases me anymore?
Yes and no. So if you guys read me and Braden's text thread, so me and Sam, Big Sam, God, I can never pronounce his last name right, but Sam from GOA, like GOA California.
Yeah.
Him and I were talking about this, and he told me one day, he's like, I wish you would just do a short on like the things that you think before you do the short and just send it to me. And I was like, Sam, you don't want to see it. Because like sometimes in order to like get the like absolute aggravation out, I'll like run a short and I'll like do it. And then I'll be like, okay, trash, and then start fresh. And because it's so insane. Like Tim Walz. Okay, guys, you guys saw the video of him not being able to load his shotgun, right?
Yes.
I mean, this man is the best shot in Congress. He can outshoot everyone in trap and outshoot everyone in pheasants. And this man cannot load his shotgun. Like, how mind blowing that is to which, I mean, everything he says is true because he's a knucklehead. But this man, like he claims on multiple times, like it's not just one instance. He's like, yeah, I'm the best trap shooter in Congress. I'm like, well, we really need to get new people in Congress because if these are the people fighting for our rights and they can't outshoot you and you can't load your shotgun, like, I don't know if your wife was there, your daughter, or Kamala Harris was there loading your magazine for you or your shotgun for you, but dude, that's rough. It was so embarrassing. And then, like I said, Shannon Watts is like, she is the one lady that's like running this Moms Demand Action thing, and she has absolutely no idea how any of the laws work. Like, how are you out here convincing all these moms to follow you when you don't even understand the laws?
Well, it's because of that. It's the left thing with the loudest voice is always right.
Yeah.
We
Well,
see it all the time.
they do emotions. Like the Moms Demand Action is all about emotions. Like, but think of the children.
Like we are.
That's why we want to protect them.
We want to protect them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely, I agree. And, I guess the shockers for me, I've been doing advocacy in the gun space for more than a couple of years. And the things that shock me are when we go and you find out that a kid has been suspended from school for finger pistols in kindergarten. And you're like, oh, well, this is going to take place in New York City or someplace like that. And then you throw a curveball and it's like in Alabama.
Right.
What?
Wait.
And you're just like, what exit of Crazyville did we get off on? Because what? I think those are the moments that still shock me. Not that this is a challenge, God forbid, like this is, hear my voice. This is not a challenge, but a lot of times in like the political class, you're like, okay, 1,000 rounds in the chamber, when Biden said that, you're just like, oh, okay, like that's not how that works. But you almost like expect it from them.
Yeah. And
then you go into like a rural Alabama area and you're like, but not you.
Yeah. I expect better from you.
Like, what happened here? And I think that's why we have to remind ourselves that we have to be vigilant at all levels of government. And no area is without our oversight and constantly, checking in and making sure that they are, adhering to our constitutional rights, because I think you expect something like that in California
Right.
or in New York. You shouldn't, but we've been so conditioned to that level of tyranny that it's not as surprising.
Right.
When Alabama does something like that, you're like, what has happened? And we can't afford for that many things like that to happen. That's not how you say those words. But
you shouldn't say more better.
But you can't. We can't allow that to happen, because we have to be the watchers on the wall. We have to be the keepers of the Constitution. And if we don't address those things, if we don't call those things out, we're going to have significant repercussions from our apathy. And that's something that I don't think that we can afford to have as gun owners.
Well, you said finger pistols in school. There was just, 2 weeks ago, flag on the play for brandishing a gun. Did you see that? College football.
Yeah.
Guy went like this, and they threw a flag at him.
Oh my gosh, I did not see that.
So he got flagged for that. So then the question is, everyone's like, well, every time Pat Mahomes goes like this, or any of the quarterbacks go, are they getting a flag for 15 yards for brandishing a gun?
Yeah.
Or was what?
Where was that?
It was in the SEC.
I heard it, but I can't remember exactly.
It was in the SEC. I think it was Arkansas. Got flagged.
Be better. Do better.
For
what is happening?
Brandishing a weapon.
Yeah.
Brandishing a weapon is what the flag was for.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I haven't seen, I know I've seen the clip. It's not as bad as it sounds, but it's just like.
But it's the ridiculousness that it could happen. And like, we want to talk about like culture being upstream of politics. Is if this is where the culture is going, we have to fight on a cultural level to preserve our gun rights. And it's not well, maybe one day we can, or if we have enough members. No, it's right now. It's every gun owner. It's shows like yours calling this out, and it's calling out the ludicrousy, but it's also empowering us to say, hey, like, no, we're not gonna do these things. This is unacceptable. And not allowing, because the sad part is if you don't address it in the culture, if a President Biden or whoever says something like 100 rounds in the chamber, there's going to be a certain amount of uneducated people in the population that goes, yes.
Oh my goodness, you can have 100 rounds in your chamber, but they actually believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
like when he says the whole like you couldn't own a cannon when the Constitution and the Second Amendment were wrote, I was like, okay.
You sure about that? Or you're wearing Kevlar. This administration, thankfully, we won't know.
Hopefully on the way out.
Yeah, hopefully on the way out. But we won't know because we're filming this before the election for those that are listening.
Yeah.
Again, you have to call those things out, and we should have like a greatest hits of all of the ludicrousy that they've said.
That's right.
An AR-15 weighs as much as 100 shipping boxes. Did you know that?
I am Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
That is my official position.
The thing that always gets me is like Kamala Harris wants to be like, man, if you shoot something with an AR, there's nothing left. I'm like, honey, what are you talking about, a 50 cal? Like, are you talking about like a slug 12 gauge at like close range? Like, what are we talking about? She's like, blows a hole clear in them. Honey, it's barely as big as a tack.
9mm will blow your lung right out,
Oh,
God, the quotes from this administration have been so good. It's so bad. But
also so embarrassing.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
It's wildly embarrassing. It is, what is it? The famous Mark Twain quote where it's like a lie will circle the globe 3 times before the truth has time to put on its shoes. And that's why I think that we have to call these things out. Like, we're having fun, obviously, talking and poking fun at the ridiculousness, but the ridiculousness holds a lot of weight. It has a lot of gravity to it. And it's very incumbent upon educated gun owners, and not educated by university standards, educated by the standards of understanding the Constitution, educated in knowing the rights of advocacy, educated in knowing that, an AR-15 is probably not going to do whatever the anti-gunners say it's going to do. It keeps getting more and more ludicrous, which I don't think they realize how wildly it demeans their argument when you take somebody to a range and it shows what it can actually do.
Right.
But we talk about those things and it's funny, but it's not, and they have real consequences because these people who are the same uneducated people are unfortunately the ones signing laws and introducing laws and picking appointments for director positions within the bureaucracies and confirming them in the Senate. And all of those things have real world consequences. And so, yes, it's great for the meme, but we have to call it out. We have to make the meme. We have to educate people on why the meme is funny so that they can see the ludicrousy that's happening and the fact that they're being lied to. And that's not an understatement. That's not an exaggeration. It's reality.
I think one of my biggest shorts that I ever did was literally Whoopi Goldberg saying that you can't shoot an AR-15, there's nothing left, and then she pretended to shoot it like a bazooka or something. And I was like, no, that's not how that works. And explained that, she must have been talking about something else. And it hit over 1 million, in a couple months. It was if even it took that long. It was just, people were like, oh, wow, this, not only is she absolutely insane and completely off course here, but this girl's making sense.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we are in this echo chamber of 2A stuff, and this is stuff we know. But the people who are in a separate echo chamber, who are uneducated, who are how I want to say this, sheep, to follow this ludicrousy, they're gonna believe all the lies, and it's our job and our goal to break through that echo chamber and go, no, the newscaster who shot a watermelon and was like, yeah, I shot this watermelon with an AR-15, clearly a shotgun, blew it clear into chunks. This is the insanity that we have to deal with, and things like shorts that get fed to a ton of people is how we kind of breach through that echo chamber that they're in and kind of spread that word, that message a little bit better. But
yeah, and there's always, I think one of the interesting things that we forget is there's always people who are gun curious or gun neutral that you never know what side is going to affect them and what side is going to draw them. And so the good thing about the diversity that's coming from the firearms community, where you have people like yourself doing shorts, you have longer form content, you have writers doing blogs and newsletters, is you never know what's going to be the impact point for a person. But we need to have as wide and diverse of a range as humanly possible, because you never know when somebody's going to have the question of, okay, well, what is real?
Right.
And it might be that a 60-second video impacts them in a way that goes, okay, well, maybe I should go to a range. Maybe I should go attend a class. Maybe I should go to an event and just see, are these people as crazy as I think that they are? Or are they just normal humans doing normal human things that are just proactive in the Second Amendment? And I think that diversity of content is our strength right now, because the algorithm wants to suppress us, because the mainstream media doesn't want to cover a lot of this stuff. And so it's incumbent upon us to find new and creative ways and to use the tools available to us to reach the most people possible.
Well, I mean, I think a great example of people seeing what true gun owners is from goals. And I'm going to bring this up because we haven't touched on this yet, is the compliments we got from the venue on how clean we left it, how other conventions had left the convention center in some sort of trashier assemble,
Just
some
disarray. Yeah.
disarray. I wouldn't say like they destroyed the place, but that just shows. And if you go event by event, we talk about going to the state capitals for 2A days and things like that. Every time our group leaves it either cleaner or as they found it, and we get this thing that we're awful people.
Yeah,
I think we're pretty good people.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I think everybody has to understand there's bad eggs everywhere. There are bad eggs in the gun industry. There's like, as much as I hate to admit it, we do have bad eggs. Like you can think right now off the top of your head, there's one person that you're like, yeah, I really wish they weren't, out here ruining it for some of us. Like you can think of one person and you're like, not a fan. And yeah, they make us look bad, right? But you have to realize that there may be 1 out of 100, but the gun industry is not, and the 2A industry is not a bad place. For the most part, most of everyone will give you the shirt off their back. But there is, of course, just like anything else, there's always going to be one bad person. But the whole point is to like not put all the emphasis on the bad and highlight more of the positive. And I think that's something that a lot of the people that see it, like there's certain people that don't like certain things. Like, yeah, sure, you might have gotten a big name because you did this, but is it for a positive reason? Or is that like when people see the gun industry, do they think of one person? And is it a good person that we need to highlight? Or is it someone that maybe we should like, not that like you don't want to help that person, but it's like you want to make sure that the light is being put on the right people because you want not seeing it like that are just on the outside that don't know. The outside looking in are those the people you want to highlight, or are they not? And I think that's something that's really important that a lot of people forget. They're like, yeah, just because someone's popular, are they popular for the right reasons? And that's something I think that a lot of us forget because, yeah, sure, they have tons of subscribers on YouTube or tons of this or tons of that, but like, are they putting off a positive light? Is it someone you want to do business with? Not saying that you don't want to do business with someone because, one thing they said one time, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're working with the right people and highlighting the people that don't make the industry look bad.
Yeah. And I think that goes for everyone.
Mhm.
There's a lot of times that the political class, especially,
Mhm.
right now, when we're filming this, it's 20 days from election,
Roughly, yeah.
give or take. And primaries are over. Right now, every single person with, I would say fairly confidently, every single person with an R beside of their name
Yeah.
probably has an ad or something on their website
Mhm.
that's like, I'm unapologetically 2A.
Yeah.
And Lord help us, it's usually a double barrel shotgun
Yes.
in their ad. I don't know why. That's like the official gun of the political class.
I'm a hunter. That's not what the Second Amendment's about, but good job.
It's very interesting. I came from the political campaign side of things before. And it's just, I've seen a lot of people's ads over the years, and I'm always like, what? There's no diversity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like in the guns. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty much always like a double barrel shotgun.
It's Grandpappy's double barrel shotgun.
And it's very interesting. I'm like, if I were you, I'm not telling you how to campaign, but just some general advice for free of charge from a person that used to do this. Maybe when relating to potential donors, voters, constituents in general, maybe pick a popular gun. Like even
Brandon Herrera. Come on, guys. You saw his pictures.
I mean,
that's a good point. He is the exception to the rule, and like I wish him, success if he ever chooses to make a run again. But it's just very interesting to me because I've always been like, the AR-15 is like the most popular gun in the United States, and yet if you were to probably talk to most of the politicians that are currently running ads, they would be dumbfounded to find out that fact.
Yeah.
Because all of their ads are a shotgun. So, whatever.
Well, I think a lot of that probably comes from the fact that they hear that AR-15s are bad all the time. So they're probably scared to run ads with an AR-15 because like that would be, mom's demand action because they don't know any different or like, whatever Davey Hogg does on his stuff. But those people are going to immediately attack him because he or her because it's a AR-15 and AR-15s are even though they were civilian made. I just want to let you guys remind you everyone that's listening, AR-15s were made for civilian use. Okay, just.
But a double barrel shot, you could have gone with like a 1911
or a lever action. Like, come on,
something like really American.
It's always one of those things where things that make you go.
Everybody doves hunt. It's fine.
I think it's because the shotgun is like synonymous with American culture. Like it's a very American thing.
It is a very American thing. And I do understand, and like I'm all for having some diversity in your
but it's aging out.
But it is one of those
It's aging out. The shotgun's aging out.
Yes, I will argue that point later, but
it's a grandpappy shotgun. He shot 4 deer with it during the Great Depression.
And it still works.
Yeah,
by God.
true,
like
that's all you need, right? Is a double barrel shotgun off your back porch.
Yeah, just shoot 2 up in the air and they scare everybody off.
Everybody off.
It is wild though, like the different iterations of like how we view like shotguns and the owners of shotguns. I will say this, like it is wild to me. But anyway, we're getting way off.
For all our shotgun folks, we love you. Thank you for being part of the
Oh, yeah, we're not hating at all. No.
No way. Because they run for generations. Like, you have to admit this. Like, Grandpappy's gun is still usable when it's handed down to you. And it's gone through some people. And you probably learned to shoot on it.
Like, they don't make guns the way they used to.
No.
I say that as I own like an old 66 Mustang. I'm like, they don't make them like they used to. I'm not even 30 yet, and I'm already saying this.
Some things are just facts, okay?
I'm like, they just don't make them like they used to. Like,
it is very interesting to me, and like, this is completely irrelevant to this conversation, or maybe it is. I don't know. We'll see. See what the comments say. But like, I've often pondered like how Mossberg is still in business because they last forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, you are so dominant in your space and like I love your guns.
Yeah.
But it will never die.
It's like a Ford or a Chevy. It's like my grandpappy had a Remington and my grandpappy had a Mossberg, and I'm gonna buy a Mossberg by golly. And slap the side of it and goes, oh, they don't make them like they used to. This baby's going to run forever.
Yeah, but if you have grandpas, what's the point in buying 3 new ones?
Oh, because you need the new ones.
Hey, I'm all for it.
But I'm with you. I'm like, I'm all for it. And you should own it. But it's like, I love the fact that they just don't care that their product will never die. Yeah. They're like, we're still here to stay and we're still going to sell more. And like, I'm here for it, but like, generations will live and die by that gun. Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
If you keep it clean, you keep the rust off of it, like that thing's gonna run for the rest of your life.
It's like if you were to compare 2 shotgun companies to 2 car companies, Remington and Mossberg or Ford and Chevy.
No, because they work all the time.
They're more like Toyota, like the Toyota. I'm saying like the Tacoma is still running. Like all the old Tacomas, like you can still buy those on Marketplace for like over $20,000 because they still run.
Ill will of American.
They still run. I know, but I'm just saying like
I understand. First of all, I'm a Mopar girl, and I stand by the decision.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I
bleed Ford blue, so I'm sorry.
Well, I am sorry for you. I'm sorry for the mechanic bills that you will inevitably
learn to do it yourself.
And my house is very divided. My husband and I were very Mopar. My dad is like a little Mopar, but very Ford heavy on his love of classic cars. He does have a Charger, but he's very, very Ford. My younger brother we're getting him into classic cars, and he's very Chevy.
Mhm.
And
What is your husband has a classic car, doesn't he? I can't remember what it is.
it is a 1970
That's right.
black on black.
Yeah. He shares
And
classic car memes with me every once in a while.
I know my place in the relationship. Okay, if it's me or the car, I'm gone.
Oh, my husband
Like-
my husband straight up told me one time that because I was like, I just hate that car. I was like, can we just sell it because it doesn't run right now? He's got an El Camino. I can't remember what year it is, but he's got an El Camino and it's just like sitting there. And I was like, why don't we sell it and then you can buy like a newer project? He's like, I will get rid of you before I get rid of this car. And I was like, noted.
Am I the only one who gave up their race car?
First of all, don't call it a race car.
It's a muscle car, sir.
It's a muscle car.
So,
but
fact check, you're wrong. Number one. Number two, I didn't get into classic cars because of my husband. This has predated my husband. This has been something that I have grown up with all my life. No, I'm not a follower. I am thoroughly vetted in this. And three, the vanity plate says my girl. There is no other option. There is the girl and then the wife. And that's the difference. She takes priority.
Mm-hmm.
She lives in air conditioning.
I gave up my race car.
And Kaylee's out working with the chickens.
And I have a job that keeps her in that air conditioning.
Honey, if you're watching this, I love you. Just remember, I'm just making that note.
Oh my gosh, we got so sidetracked.
No, it's fine.
But no, you cannot compare Mossberg and how well that gun runs to Ford and Chevy.
But that's the closest comparison.
Okay, but you definitely can't compare it to modern day Ford and Chevy.
Not modern day at all.
Now,
'Cause
you
you
want to
were
go
two
back like
kids.
to the 1960s or around that era, we'll talk.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the comparison, because back in the day, it was either Ford or Chevy, or it was Remington or Mossberg.
Okay.
And I think Chevy actually was giving away Remingtons at some point.
As long as we're
Really?
I
talking
think
like
they're
pre
more-
all of our births, okay.
Well, yeah, because
We're so passionate about this
Yeah.
conversation, and yet
Chevy.
none of us were alive to verify.
I only know this because Chevy and Remington did a collab together when
And they do it again.
when Earnhardt was still alive
And they do it again.
with a big number 3 on it.
That sounds like a match made in heaven.
Well, yeah, but they just don't
Just
like
throw
them
in
like
an
they used
American
to.
apple, just throw in an American apple pie, and you're set for life.
Praise hell, praise hell.
We missed you, buddy. Anyways.
So to kind of bring us back on topic, it is important that I don't even know how to. We're gonna redo this.
It's
Well, what's
important
left?
that politicians use different guns than shotguns.
No, because that was a rant too. I'm gonna go back to the original topic.
No.
What's left?
We're leaving the
We need a
rants.
hit.
Oh, I'm sure we can leave the rant.
Okay.
But what I think is so important is to kind of bring us back to the topic at hand is right now everything is kind of hyper focused because we just came through the election with the time that this will air. We're pre-election right now. And we want to I think we're all craving normalcy. We're craving the temperature to come down a little bit. But we can't afford to be apathetic regardless of who has control of the House, the Senate, the presidency, your governorship, your state legislature. And right now, you're going to see some true colors out of politicians because the exhale will come with, okay, I'm still in power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have their runs on like, oh, we need to push all this gun control that we know is not going to pass, or we need to push this gun bill that we know has no chance in Hades. And then now, after the election, everyone just kind of like breathes and shows their true colors.
Yeah. And now is the time that we take notes.
Mhm.
You know, GOA, as we've been putting out a voter guide for since we were founded in 1976, right? Like this is not new for us. We always score the politicians and what they're introducing and the votes that they cast. Because, you know, the reality is this is the moment where they'll feel the most relief. This is the moment that they'll show their true colors. And then next year, they're going to be talking about the midterms. And it will already be starting. And we have to find and call out people who are in our communities that should be running for office, that could be running for office, that are truly pro-gun, that understand the issue, that know how to load that shotgun, that understand our constitutionality.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not have the $1 million. They might not have those things, but we can be calling that out and saying, hey, you know, run for county commissioner, run for state house, you know, start building a credential because we need you in the fight. We have to be our own kind of candidate scoping committee as individuals because we know these people.
Yeah.
And the only reason that the politicians get to go and be in office is because somebody elected them, which means somebody at some point, unless they're wildly ambitious, said, hey, you should run for office.
Right. Either that or you're just a massive narcissist.
Which, honestly, can we say that that's without opportunity? No.
Well, and I think this is something that's really important. And back to your point on like the finger guns in Alabama, I think a lot of people in like rural areas, like we stop paying attention because we're like, oh, we're safe in our little small towns. We've had the same people forever. And we don't pay attention to who's being voted or elected or taking positions in like the school board. Nobody thinks about that. You're like, oh, like, yeah, should we pay attention? Especially me. I mean, up until like, 3 months ago, I didn't have a kid, so like you're not thinking about the fact that like who's school commissioner or school board or any of this stuff. Like you're not thinking about the little guys. Everyone sees big picture. And I know for a fact my husband is this way and we've worked on it a lot, but he would literally go in and only vote for president because he'd be like, it's so important. Yes, honey, but so is the Supreme Court and like Congress, like all of this other stuff, like it all trickles down. Like if you don't pay attention, like the people that you put in, the people that you vote for in these things are really important. And that's why I love like GOA's the ratings on all the people, because like some people, like you don't think about the little guys because you don't see them all the time. But it's really important to pay attention and note that, hey, these guys, like, this guy might have a little position now, but he could be your mayor in 2 years. Like, this guy, yeah, so we don't like this, the guy who runs a little precinct of something in your town, but if you aren't paying attention to how he's voted in or how he's elected, he could literally be your next mayor or next governor because that's how it works. I mean, Kamala started out being nothing and somehow at this point has either won the election or was the vice president in the past term. So she came from nowhere because probably weren't paying attention. I mean, maybe, or something like that. Like people, and it's something that I've had to come to grips with because, I hated politics for so long, that it really does matter. The little people matter. The people that are running in your county and all this, that matters.
Yeah. Because, whether we like it or not, and you can agree or disagree, but so much of our political machine is based off of quote unquote paying your dues.
Yeah.
And so, they've got a voting record, or they want to get a voting record. And, it, especially in these conservative states that just passed constitutional carry, you have to be way more vigilant in these next years to protect the ground that we've gained, because the anti-gunners want nothing more than to take our map down.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what, like, like Trump passed all of these things and then Biden came in and undid all of them. And within 3 years, well, 3.5, almost 4 years, destroyed anything positive that he may or may not have done. And that's something that a lot of people forget. And it's really important that we pay attention to everything. I know it's a pain. I mean, who wants to always be paying attention? But it could mean literally the difference in your children having rights or being slaves. I know it's not a word I'm supposed to use, but
Well, I think it even, we understand, right? All of us have hobbies outside of the firearms industry.
right.
We all have lives. You go to church, you participate in your community. And we understand that like life gets difficult. Sometimes you don't have the bandwidth. In fact, I will be the first one to admit I don't have the bandwidth to read every law.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that GOA has a legal
Mhm.
team and a federal affairs team
Yeah.
and a state team that reads the laws.
Right.
So I don't have to.
Right. How can you read the summary?
Because but you have to be looking at your email. You have to be looking at YouTube videos. You
Mhm.
have to be getting that education so that you can take action.
Mhm.
They are counting on us it being too convoluted. They're counting on us not having the time to read the 3 minutes it takes to read the email. And then you have to have, let's say 30 seconds. If you're a slow typer, maybe 2 minutes to type the email
Mhm.
out. Okay, so 5 minutes has been dedicated to the preservation of your rights. They're counting on you not making that sacrifice. And I recognize that you as an individual are making that sacrifice. And that's why I make sure that I'm taking action on stuff as it comes through my inbox, because I never want to be put in the position where it's like, well, you weren't willing
Yeah.
to be there. You weren't willing to show up. In fact, I have made sure that I have attended every gold lobby day in Tennessee since they started,
Mhm.
because I need you to see me there, even if you don't know who I am, because let's face it, I'm not that popular of a person and no one really knows who I am.
Everyone knows you, Kaylee. Literally everyone in the industry
What is-
knows who you are.
The queen of LinkedIn is not known.
Oh,
What are
whatever.
you talking
Stop
about?
it. But like, I'm an everyday person,
Right.
right? Like I don't have millions of followers. Yes, I know people in the firearms industry.
Right.
That does, yes,
Right.
but that's also a word. But,
Fair.
but it's important to me that people see that, like, hey, I'm here. I'm not the state director for GOA.
Right.
I'm here because this is my state,
Mhm.
and I know we need to be here. And this is why we partner, in Tennessee, we partner with TFA to do the gold lobby days. And we partner with all kinds of state groups to do gold days. But it's important because I never want someone to say, well, you get paid to be there. Fact check false. I actually take a personal day, and I make sure I take the personal day because I want the same sacrifice that I would ask someone else to do to be the same sacrifice that I take.
Right.
Because I never want to be able to sit here and be like, no, guys, like no.
Right.
It's got to mean something. I have skin in the game.
Right.
And therefore I am going and I'm sending the emails, I'm making the phone calls, and I'm showing up because I believe this is our way to victory.
Right.
Well, on that note, Kaylee has now stepped down from her soapbox for the day.
He's so rude to me, guys.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up, Kaydi. Where can people find you? Go ahead and plug all the socials and anything else.
Yeah.
You plug.
So my Instagram is Kaydi J. It's KAYDIJA and then 3 Y. So YYY. Yeah. I just haven't changed it from when I started it, like at the beginning of time. And then my YouTube is Stone Second Sense, and that's pretty much it for the most part.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on. We
Thanks for
had
having me.
a blast, wide variety of topics today. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell for notification, and just go be more better.
More